Thank you for joining me. I'm Consuelo Chapman.
I'm Amani Matua, and we are here for the third episode of Kinfolk Chronicles, hosted by the Carter Clinic.
September, do you remember, is a significant month for a couple different reasons. One being that it is National Recovery Month as well as National Suicide Prevention Month. And with the Carter Clinic being a leading behavioral health and addiction psychiatry clinic, we thought it was very important for us to do a show on the two. Don't you?
Yes, and actually tomorrow is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Day, although the whole month encompasses it. As you can see, we are in our new revamped studio. So we're still getting things together, making sure our audio and video quality is good so you guys can hear us and you guys can listen along and have a great time. So today we're having a semi-serious conversation. We want to keep it light, but everyone here has had loved ones that they've lost to suicide. Everyone has had to make sure that they can support people who have lost people to suicide, and if this is a trigger warning for anyone, then you might want to skip this episode, but we feel like it was important to speak about.
Most definitely. And as a member of the Recovery Community Organization, the Carter Clinic recognizes the critical importance of addressing these issues to support individuals and families on their healing journey. So, let's get into it about the overlap between mental health and substance use disorder. Before I got into the field of mental health and addiction, I remember asking the department chair at Fayetteville State University, the illustrious, I don't know what comes first. Is it mental health issues and then you get addicted to drugs, or do you get addicted to drugs and then you have mental health issues? And I think it varies.
Yeah, I have to agree. It probably can go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when thinking about the relationship between suicide, mental health, and substance use disorder, it's a complex and it's multifaceted, right? Just like Amani, you said, it could go either way. You have individuals who may be experiencing a mental health condition, and they rely or use a external coping mechanism like drugs or alcohol, and dependence starts. So you can drink and not be dependent, right? And research shows that there may be a psychological dependence, say to marijuana, but there's no physiological dependence that can develop, unlike the other drugs like alcohol, opiates, and things of that nature.
Right. So people do tend to self-medicate when they're feeling depressed, because depression is and anxiety are probably one of the general precursors for a lot of people to start having suicidal ideation. I think that when you have a coping mechanism, as you said, where you start to self-medicate, then you become reliant on it. Usually that pushes you deeper into a hole or a rut. And so we want to caution everyone to be very careful to not self-medicate. Go seek a professional. Start with therapy or counseling, and sometimes those can clear up the issues quickly before you're in a place where you feel like there's no way out. At the same time, if you are already addicted to something and you are sort of going deeper into a depressive rut, I would say that you have to be very careful, because a lot of these chemicals, everyone's different, and these chemicals don't agree with everybody, and some of these drugs don't agree with anybody. But I was also talking about prescription drugs as well. Sometimes you have to talk to your doctor about adjusting your medication, but usually the use of illegal substances are going to react in very strange ways. So even if you feel like you're doing it recreationally, we would caution you, be very careful, because sometimes your chemical makeup just may not agree with it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, Amani. everybody's chemical makeup is different. We have different levels, right? And sometimes, you know, what can happen when using drugs recreationally can induce what they call a substance-induced psychosis, which is a very, very scary place to be for the individual and for their family members. And sometimes we see that when individuals have experimented with things like mushrooms, LSD, and even, some of these MMDAs can cause that kind of stuff too. So like you were saying, as far as the continual use, when there's a co-occurring disorder already that may be undiagnosed, like depression or anxiety, when left untreated, that despair can turn into hopelessness. And research has shown that it's not depression that leads to suicide per se, it's the feeling of hopelessness. Yeah.
Well, I think you're totally right there about the induced psychosis, the drug-induced psychosis. People wait for these studies to be done on all these things. If they're illegal substances, just stay away from them. Do not engage them just because you feel like they are party drugs or your friends are doing them. You have to have some sort of self-awareness, and you can't do what everyone else is doing. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean you can do it. Some people try these things and unfortunately pass away their first time using, and sometimes they put themselves in a lifelong cycle just because they want to be part of the crowd. And so, yeah.
I was just gonna say it's almost like playing Russian roulette, with your life, with the drugs out here. And I'll tell anybody, the drug dealers, they appear to be your friend, but they're not your friend.
They're trying to make money.
That's called building a rapport, so you keep coming back. It's no different than the guy at the store that knows your name and knows what you like to buy, but he's not your friend. You haven't exchanged numbers, you don't hang out, he doesn't know anything about your family or your kids, and it's pretty much the same way with the drug dealer. It's to keep you coming back.
And we got to be honest about alcohol too. I mean, it's legal, but everyone knows, if you've ever had a drink before, that comes with some serious mood swings. The next morning, your chemical balance is all messed up. You have a hangover. You're moody. So I would say just be careful, caution, take preventative measures. Make sure you're well hydrated if you're going to go out and drink. Make sure you're in a safe area. Make sure you're around friends.
And make sure you don't drive.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
So, with both observances happening in September, to highlight the critical need for comprehensive mental health and addiction treatment, in tandem, we're honored to be a part of the Carter Clinic team, because the Carter Clinic is one of the leading providers in Wake County and in the state of North Carolina that's able to support individuals who may have co-occurring disorder, like alcohol use, opiate addiction, schizophrenia, and things of that nature.
Bipolar disorder. Sometimes a lot of these things are also diagnosed, so you really don't know what you're playing with sometimes. At the Carter Clinic, too, we do medication-assisted therapy, and how does that coincide with this?
Oh, most definitely. With the RMAT program, it's for individuals who have an opiate dependence. And we understand that, not everyone was out there shooting heroin. Not everyone just decided they wanted to crush pills or snort pills. There's individuals who had chronic pain and have decided that, they don't want to continue to take pills, and they realized that their body had formed a dependence. And so, the Suboxone and the Subutex, and there's also an injectable that's available as well to help those individuals still meet their pain needs, but not have to worry about the risk associated with opiates. So yeah, and one of the other things too, I can't forget to talk about is that we have a recovery support group We have a smart recovery group that is on Tuesdays, in person and virtual at 5:30. And then we also have a virtual group that is held 12 p.m. noon. And it's open to anyone who wants to attend. We're out here in the business of saving lives. So if you need the link, don't hesitate to reach out. I can be emailed at cchapman with a P at thecarterclinic.com, where you can reach.
You can reach me at amutua at thecarterclinic.com. So let's get into some of the warning signs for those who are suffering from suicidal ideation or generalized anxiety, and maybe they are having feelings of hopelessness. So a big one that comes to my mind is mood swings. Sometimes if you ever lost anyone in this manner, or you know someone who has lost someone, that sometimes they say they couldn't tell, and I think that's a big thing. I have a few people in my family who I've lost to suicide as well, and it's definitely not easy. It's not easy to understand. It's not easy to deal with, but looking back in hindsight, I can say, oh man, maybe I could have reached out to this person more, or maybe I could have said something in advance. But in that moment, I wasn't thinking like that. So now looking forward, I want to reach out to like friends and family just more often. I kind of just do it just as a habit or a ritual now. Like every once in a while, I just sit there and reminisce about everybody and think about who's helped me in my life, who's been a big influence in my life, friends who I know rely on me, and sometimes I'll just reach out or just send a text just every so often. And it's honestly good for my mental health as well, because sometimes we forget that people care about us, and sometimes the phone works both ways. We all know that, but a lot of people don't reach out till you reach out first. So sometimes just be the bigger person, just reach out and just say, hey, how are you? Man, you remember when this happened? Sis, I miss you. We need to hang out sometime. Let's go out. Let's catch a comedy show. Let's go to a concert. Anything, And usually people are more receptive to that than we normally think. So that's a big thing for me. Is just continually reach out to people I haven't spoken to in a while, because you never know when they may be feeling isolated, alone, or going through a difficult time period.
Thank you, Imani. And just a little self-disclosure, because I'm an open book. I believe storytelling is a connector, and it helps end shame and stigma. I'm the strong friend, generally. I'm the one that seemingly has it all together, especially from outward appearances. I'm always joking, but there was a time after my divorce, and it was almost kind of like this delayed reaction to the divorce and family dynamics change, where it's like I woke up one day and didn't want to get out of bed, and then it turned into a week to where I hadn't taken a shower, where it felt like I was literally drowning in the mattress, and but leading up to that, I can recall too, where having these intrusive thoughts of wanting to, end it all, to drive my car into the guardrail. And it was literally like a magnet, where my hands are on the steering wheel and I'm fighting to keep the car straight, figuratively and physically, right? So with that being said, we hear this all the time. Check on your strong friends, and it's true, because the strong friend is also used to having it all together, and so when we don't know how to respond. We never had to reach out before. So guess what? As simple as it sounds, it's picking up the phone and reaching out or calling somebody. Because that's out of character for us. We're used to figuring it out. We're game changers. We're the helper. So puts the responsibility on that support system to recognize that that's the strong friend, and we know she's not going to, or her or him is not going to reach out if they're going through something. So we need to take the initiative and inquire. And I even do it in session. Sometimes I'll say, "How are you doing?" And I said, "You can't say okay or all right, because that so naturally rolls off our tongue, because we feel like that person doesn't want to really know what's going on, you know."
When it's not the truth.
When it's not the truth, yeah. So, yeah. Like you were saying, changing behavior. Sometimes people are actually researching how to take their life. Sometimes there's withdrawal. You know, like I was saying, not getting out of the bed. Guess what? I'm not getting out of bed. I'm not answering the phone either. You know. So social isolation, which is also one of the behaviors that happens when you're depressed. Taking dangerous or risky behaviors like driving recklessly, and we kind of talked about this off camera on this phenomenon called slow suicide, where people are engaging in activities that are more likely to lead to death, even almost kind of like death by cop. You know, if you know if you do X, Y, and Z, the cop is more likely going to shoot you. Then you're warning the cop subconsciously or consciously to take your life, you know. And I think that appeals to individuals who may have been previously locked up before, and you have the formerly incarcerated that are like, I ain't going back. They can kill me first, you know. But to me, you know, it's when you think about how valuable life is and how fragile life is, and I think as a nation and as a world, we just have to be more empathetic and compassionate for individuals who may experience a mental health crisis. I can remember a buddy of mine calling. I did answer the phone then. It was Cheney. Cheney was like, "Get up, Connie. You got kids. You got to tell." But I had worked it out where I had somebody come and picking up because my kids, they didn't take the bus. I had to drive. They had to be driven to school. Somebody was driving my kids to school because I couldn't literally get out of bed. I think I had lost like 25 pounds in a week. And I remember like my bra, there was so much space in my bra size because of how much weight I had lost. And I decided to go to my primary care physician, but I was also crying. It was like these crying spells, and I would go back to sleep and wake up crying. And I remember I was ruminating. Of course, I didn't know what it was then, but I was ruminating. I was beating myself up because I felt like I had made these decisions. Like, what was I thinking? And the primary care physician at the time, he looked at me over his glasses and he asked, and of course it's probably PHQ-9, but I didn't know it at the time. When he got to, have you thought about hurting yourself, Consuela? And I was so ashamed, I couldn't even get the answer out. I just started crying. I went to him because I told him I kept crying, and I didn't know why I kept crying, and I couldn't get out of bed. So yeah, even back then, which was over, I want to like 21 years ago, that strong friend was felt weak being open and honest with her primary care physician, who had seen her, you know, with her legs wide open getting a pap smear, but I couldn't tell the man that I was thinking about hurting myself. I was having suicidal ideations. So yeah, I mean, you know, and as the universe would have it, you know, here I am on the other side of the table, per se, helping individuals on their mental health journey. So yeah.
That's super powerful. I know a lot of people related with that as well, so thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
How did you manage to call your primary care physician, or what made you make that phone call?
Honestly, it was when I got up after about a week, and because I was only getting up to use the bathroom, you know, I wasn't eating, I wasn't taking a shower, and just finally when I looked in the mirror and I noticed that my bra wasn't fitting it. You know, it sounds minute, but I'm like, dang, I'm gonna have to buy now. I'm gonna have to buy new bras. You know what I'm saying? Like my bra got too big. But that's just real talk. You know, as a woman, that was like the thing for me, as small and insignificant as it seems. But that was the thing for me. That was like, oh, maybe I need to go to the doctor because something's not right.
You definitely can't always shake back by yourself. I know a lot of people related with that because a lot of people see themselves as a strong friend. I think that being the one who everyone relies on, you really have to know how much you can give to others as well. It's kind of like when you're on a plane, they say, make sure you put on your oxygen mask before you put it on anyone else, even your own kids, because if you run out of air, you can't save no one else. So with the strong friends, sometimes they're pouring from a cup that has nothing else in it. You know, they're trying to give to everybody else, and they need to sometimes take some time to internalize what they've been through, any lasting trauma they might have. When's the last time they got a phone call? When's the last time they just talked about themselves? Sometimes we feel like I'm just saying I too much and feel like we're being selfish in conversations, but just a PSA to everyone, sometimes let people vent, let your friends vent, try to relate with them, try to put yourself in someone else's shoes, and also for all the people who give of themselves, make sure you pour into your own cup and only pour as much as you can give. That's not to say don't reach out, that's not to say don't support people, but don't
know your threshold.
Yeah, don't overextend.
Yeah,
right?
Know your threshold. And just to kind of circle back, so that was like around 21 years ago. So 11 years after, I get a call from Cheney, and it was actually a message on Facebook. It was like, hey, can I call you, whatever. And I'm like, what's up? And he called to apologize. He said, I didn't know what you were going through until I got laid off from my job. And I just wanted to say I'm sorry because I didn't know what depression felt like until I lost my job. And so sometimes, it takes someone going through something before they're able to get it to click.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't always have to be the case. There's a term called being trauma informed, and that's the buzzing, and it's basically approaching folks as if everybody has a trauma, and that's just being kind, compassionate, and empathetic, right? And not thinking that mental health is about mental strength, that you can just snap out of something. No, there is whether it's situational, and that was one of the things that I think is important to note, that my primary care physician told me that this was situational. And basically how we code that in therapy is an adjustment disorder. So you can be depressed and not have a chronic, depression. Because everybody gets depressed. Mm-hmm. People get depressed when they're grieving, and in all honesty, it's more frequent than a lot of us talk about. But we learn to compartmentalize our thoughts and feelings to get through, right? And a lot of times that's what happens with the strong friend. We just put stuff on the shelf. We just trudging through. You know what I'm saying? I was built for this. You ever heard something? I was built for this. Right? until you hit that wall.
I'm cut different.
I'm cut different. Until you hit that wall.
Yeah,
and when
absolutely.
you hit that wall, you ain't getting back up. It might be a week, might be 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
You know?
I have to say something about the empathy thing that you were talking about. That he called you and apologized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had to call people and apologize before because growing up, I mean, I was young. I was like 16 or so, but a girl told me she was going through depression, and at that point, I couldn't understand it. I'm like, pick yourself back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go outside, get some sun. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and she was even telling me back then it's not that easy. It's not that easy. And then later on, as you grow, you start to understand more. You know, the first time I ever felt depressed, I was like, oh wow, because you really just can't shake it off like that. You really,
And it's almost like it comes out of nowhere.
it really does. And in all honesty, like, and I never thought I'd ever be depressed. You know, but because I had such a blessed life, and I mean, I'm grateful for a lot of things. But there's times in your life, there's situations, there's heartbreaks, there's loss, you know, so mistakes, you know, that's a huge one. Like you said, shame, you were saying you felt ashamed, and there's not really nothing to be ashamed of because we all go through stuff like that. So the key is to treat yourself with a little bit of grace, you know, give yourself some grace. Here's another thing, actually. We kind of spoke about the warning signs. I do want to get into that a little bit more, but people were talking about how social media can affect what people are going through, in the sense that sometimes they are comparing, contrasting lives they see online, and I think that sort of influences people to feel inadequate and not give themselves grace, because maybe online they see someone who just keeps going and going and can't be stopped, supposedly, you know, or apparently. You know.
I've had clients say that too. Like, how did their video go viral? I know I make better content than them. You know, when is it going to be my time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comparison's the thief of joy.
The thief of joy.
And people are posting their highlights, not their lowlights. Remember that too, because no one's going to post if I feel like, oh man, for this week I just got none of my responsibilities done. Next week's going to be a drag. I'm going to have so little free time. I'm not going to be posting my headspace, you know. I'm not going to be smiling in all these selfies, you know. Or I mean, there are people who can smile through things like that, but you have to remember, I'm not saying that people are putting on a facade, but
a lot of people are.
But they are, and social media in general is just not real. So
it's not, and I'll never forget what was it, MySpace?
Yeah.
I think my son was
probably like 04 or 02.
Yeah, so he's maybe 10 years old, and he had left the computer. I'm like 18,000 friends. Nobody has 18,000, so I'm scrolling a little more, and then he has himself listed as 21. I woke him up. I said, "You're lying," and nobody got 18,000 friends. He's like, "Mom, everybody lies on social media." On MySpace. I was like, he's like, you know, you need to get your profile. I was like, you know, but to your point, it's a lot of shamming going on, a lot of untruths, a lot of
representing yourself as not more than you are, but maybe you only want to post the positive sides of yourself. You know, everyone wants to look good in public, right? So, but in private, you don't know what's going on with them. So, I think that's why depression. The statistics say it's been going up steadily since social media, and I think that it's a big part of that, because people go online, and I know, because people tell me that they will look at, the guys will look at someone having a super nice car or something like that, and they'll be like, man, I'm just driving this beat up Nissan, and it's like, you're still getting to point A to point B. Some people will be riding the bus, and they'll be like, hey, I'm still on the bus. There's two people who don't have 2 quarters strung together to even get on the bus. So, and I'm not saying that to big yourself up, you have to look at people who are less than you, but be grateful for what you have. And when you start there, I think that you will be able to take stock of how far you can go and how high you could climb, you know?
I think that is a great place to stop. Thank you, Amani, for another amazing show. Thank you to our listeners.
Absolutely. Tune in next time. We got more coming up soon. Remember, this is Mental Health Awareness Month and no, not Mental Health Awareness, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and Recovery Month. So call someone, give someone a hug, stay in touch with all your friends, relatives, loved ones.
Till next time, take care.
Thank you.